In this video, we're going to explain and demonstrate an expansion process called nadiring, and that's coming right up. Let's go keep some bees. Hey there, beekeepers. Welcome to Beekeeping from Scratch, where we document our journey starting over from scratch and building our operations back to profitability together with you. Now, before we get started, my name is Scott McPherson, and this is another installment of my show, Nothing But Bees, where we discuss theoretical and practical beekeeping topics such as history, core concepts, myths, and other issues facing our bees. If you enjoy or find value in Beekeeping from Scratch videos, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that little bell icon so that you get notified the moment we upload our next video. Your subscribership and watching these videos all the way to the end really helps this channel out by getting this material out in front of more beekeepers. I really appreciate it. Thanks. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate nadiring, a method of expansion used when you are just starting out with foundationless frames and don't have foundation or combs to super with. And that's starting right now. So here we are at the Quaker Hill yard. Today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick swap of the feed jars. I'm putting in larger jars so I don't have to feed them so frequently because the bees are sucking these down within a day to 2 days, and it's just crazy quick. So we're putting in larger quart jars to make that faster, but I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to expand the size of the nuke. I'm going to demonstrate putting the super underneath the brood nest, and that's actually called nadiring. And the reason why we nadir with foundationless frames is because we don't want the bees to grow the comb up from the top bars in the box below, but rather we want them to grow down. So we'll show you how that works in just a moment. So I just want to show you, these girls were really needed the room. They're using the extra room here on the last bar where the extra space is made to pull out honeycomb, honey storage. So they needed the space. You can see there's a lot of bees even after I've just freed up a frame and put the frame below. There's still enough bees to cover most of the top. You can see they were trying to store some up here too, along the top ridge of that comb. Just getting off the edge of the wood. Give them a sec. Another sec. That's that. Alright, so now you'll notice what I did was to take out a frame out of the original colony that was populated, and I dropped that down into what is to be the nadir, the super that goes underneath. It's called a nadir. Nadir meaning to go below, whereas super, such as like superstructure, means to go above. So there's no such thing as undersupering. That's kind of a misnomer. It's called nadering, and that comes from the Warré technique that you can read about in a book called The Peoples Hive. However, I brought a frame down for two reasons. All right, the first reason is to encourage the bees to start building down, because there will be bees there instead of above the top bars, and the top bars could kind of act like a false floor, and the bees don't want to grow down below that sometimes for whatever reason, and I don't think we quite clearly understand why, but it's a phenomenon that we've seen in Warré hives. But bringing a comb down, brood comb down, along with that nadir encourages the bees to start growing down. And then the second reason why we do this is because it is a foundationless hive, right? So, or foundationless frames. So without having foundation, even though the frames are there and they do slightly encourage the bees to grow along the top bar, it's not a guarantee, and in fact it's only a slight encouragement. So having that comb there encourages them even more strongly to build combs on either side at the correct spacing. Having that correct spacing ensures that the bees will build comb on those bars. Now, in the ideal world, I would have brought down two combs, but if I brought down two combs and created a space between them, then that would be full checkerboarding, and these colonies are not strong enough for full checkerboarding, because that leaves every single comb exposed to a gap, and there's not enough bees to festoon to fill all the gaps that would be created by doing that. And then you'd end up with chalk brood, some lost brood, and they'd be throwing dead larvae and dead pupa out the entrance. We don't want to do that. So I'll come back next week and see that they've grown probably two partial lobes on the bottom and perhaps another full comb on the top. And then I will, at that time, create the spacing that I want, that checkerboarding that will enable them, or that will encourage them to draw the straightest combs, but they won't have to festoon in a gap. They'll have those combs to crawl on. You know, the bees will be strong enough to handle that. I did realize, though, that I don't think I pushed the frames together down in the bottom box. I think I might have to open it back up and do that again. Maybe not. It's just a week. We'll see. That'll actually be a good, interesting experiment. We'll see in a week whether or not pushing the frames together, or not pushing the frames together, has caused a problem. We'll find out in the next video. Alright, so here we are at Oswegatchie, and we're getting ready to do the same thing that we just did over at Quaker Hill. We're going to nadir these hives so that they have an empty hive body underneath the brood nest. Now, something I neglected to mention over at Quaker Hill is a third reason why we want to nadir when you have foundationless frames is because you want to encourage the bees to draw brood comb. When a foundationless frame is above the brood nest, the tendency for the bees is to want to place honey above the brood nest. As they draw comb and build it downwards, they tend to want to draw more brood comb. Now, there'll be some drone comb interspersed in there. However, the majority of the comb will be brood comb, worker comb on the way down, as opposed to drone comb almost exclusively above, because that's the more efficient means for the bees to build comb that is going to strictly be used to store honey. Since I'm just doing two hives and I'm doing them real quickly, two nukes, I'm just going to use newspaper for this smoke. One wad of newspaper lasts about 20 minutes, and that's about all I need. If the wind will cooperate. So we're going to do to this hive what we were planning on doing to the other. We were going to do it to this one anyway, but it looks like this is the only one that's getting it. The super, or the nadir. Beautiful comb. It's got eggs in it. Eggs are cheap compared to larvae. Therefore, I'm going to put this one on the bottom. So if they need to abandon a comb, eggs have not used up as many resources queen right. I'll be back tomorrow to fix this other colony. Take the feed. If you find any dead bees or larvae or chalk brood in the feeder, clean it out. Do your bees a favor. These Boardman feeders are white, and it feels like they see sunshine coming in through here and they just run right in here, and then there's nowhere to go with them, and then they end up just dropping them right there. So take the time to clean it out. That's it. Actually, I need to clean up the area. I brought my weed whacker so I could just knock down some of the tall grass so that the homeowner doesn't have to get too close to the hives. So we're going to take care of that next. Alright folks, if you're interested in filming your own beekeeping videos and are interested in the equipment that I use to film my videos, please check out the links below in the description. I get a very small commission, and it costs you not a single penny more if you decide to buy. Thank you. Okay, stay safe, and don't forget, it's about the bees.